All right, folks. So welcome back. We got a viewer comment to read to you here, and I'm reading it because I want to make it clear. It says, "I know you can't say what you're thinking about this president. He's pro-Muslim and anti-American. Period." No, I don't believe that. And what I said was we were in answer to what Rick had suggested. I said maybe to be hypothetical and to bring out views there. But it is weird. And if we talk about foreign policy, as we were doing earlier in the show with Elliot Abrams, and you look at Libya, and you look at Syria, and you look at Egypt, and you look at the Muslim Brotherhood and Al Qaeda and terrorists being put into power and given the leg up in all of those places with the support of the United States. And the question needs to be asked: why? I do think that question needs to be asked. All right, let's get back to this for a second here. The Marine in Mexican prison, Congressman Matt Salmon, Republican from Arizona, who recently visited Andrew Tamarasi at his Mexican prison, said that the president needs to pick up the phone, pick up the gosh darn phone and do something. He said that he visited him Saturday. He was in good condition. This guy was arrested, Grace Marie Turner, March 31st. At first, he was chained like a dog to a bed. He is a Marine. He is an active duty U.S. Marine, and this president has said nothing publicly about it. John Kerry, only when pressed, has said, "Oh, we brought it up to the Mexican government." And it's a disgrace, yet we trade 5 terrorists to get back a man who probably deserted. There's something cockamamie here.
It really doesn't make sense. And when you have, all the evidence suggests that the Marine made a mistake, that he wound up crossing over into Mexico because he was lost. He was trying to turn his truck around and wound up in Mexican territory, and then therefore, now what is it now, more than 2 months ago, captured, and they won't release him. So he's, you know, it's illegal to have guns in Mexico. He had guns in his truck, and now he's in jail. And that seems to me that that's something that we could solve by diplomacy, which, by the way, wasn't that something that the president said was going to be the centerpiece of his foreign policy were he elected?
Rick?
Yeah, see, this is where the hyperbole kind of gets to me. If this Marine did exactly what he said he did, then we got to get him out of there. I couldn't agree with you more. But, you know, we just said all the evidence. Well, you know what all the evidence is? All the evidence is the phone call that the Marine made to 911 telling his side of the story. That's not my idea of all the evidence in any situation.
So you're blaming the Marine?
Well, no, I'm not. I'm asking us to find out what really is going on here. I find it virtually impossible to believe that if not the president himself, somebody exceedingly high up, I guarantee you somebody has spoken to the president of Mexico about this. Now, where I do agree, just like some other situations we've seen of late, the president should have commented on this by now. Normally I would say there's probably a good reason that he hasn't, maybe having to do with the negotiations to get the Marine out. But after the delay, as long as it took him to comment about the VA, now I don't know if I even believe that's the reason. He should say something
Maybe
about
he hasn't seen it on CNN yet. You never know. I want you guys to hear a comment from a gentleman named Alan Weber. He's a Democrat. He has the largest Treasury money accumulated running for the Democratic nomination to go against Susana Martinez for the governor's mansion in New Mexico. And he recently said this. Let's everybody watch. 51.
So I am asking you for your help. We need to make Susana Martinez a one-term governor. We need to send her back to wherever she really came from. I suspect it's Texas. And that would be good for Texas, and it would be good for New Mexico.
All right. Talking about a woman of the heritage of Susana Martinez, who's a Republican governor from New Mexico, saying we need to send her back to where she came from, wherever that is. Any Republican, Rick, who would say anything like that about any female Democrat would be done with politics. He'd be out, and this would be all over the news. And by implication, every Republican would be guilty and feel the same way as the person who said it. Yet, this wasn't a story. This was, I had to dig to find this, and nobody's talked about it. And as far as I know, he's still running.
We have a word for this guy. Putz. What a ridiculous thing to say. If he meant anything other than what it appears that he meant, he ought to step up and tell us what, because that's outrageous what he said.
All right, good. I'm glad we agree, and I'm sure Grace Marie will agree.
Well, actually, I'm from New Mexico originally, and Susana Martinez is a terrific governor. She sold the plane, the state governor's plane, to fly around the state, and decided instead to buy books for kids so they'd have something to read in the summertime. She's a terrific governor. She's connected with the state of New Mexico and with what the people need. And for this person to make implications about her is whatever he meant is really just completely out of the
the issue is how good of a governor. She could be a perfectly awful governor, and I would certainly expect a Democrat running against her to point out what he perceives as her weaknesses. Just because she were an awful governor, if that were the case, doesn't give him the right to say something like that.
Right, and I think she was just. I think Grace Marie was just saying that she's from New Mexico, and she knows a lot about. But how does she get around the state now in a smaller jet, kind of smaller plane?
She flies around. Sometimes she flies commercial if she has to, and she drives.
There you go. Well, it's a smaller state. I don't know how small, but maybe it's not such a small state after all. It's a big state. Yeah, that's right. That's true too. That's true too. All right. Well, I give her credit for that. I didn't know about the book, the whole book thing. Hey, Grace Marie Turner and Rick Ungar, it's been fun. We'll see you later. Thank you very, very much for being here on the Malzberg panel. Now, when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to want to miss the interview. I promise you. We're going to be joined by the one and only, well, I'll tell you what, it's called a tease in TV and radio. You stay there and you find out, because we're coming back on the Steve Malzberg Show.